Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Moving Markets Podcast. It is Monday, September the 22nd, 2025. I am doing today's Monday podcast a lot earlier than I normally do. It's 10:30 a.m. my time. Stock market has been open for almost 3 hours now, but still has a long way to go. It doesn't close until 2 p.m. my time. I'm in Mountain Time Zone, just in case you needed a refresher on that. Right now, all three indexes are up, and I say that almost with a little bit of a surprise in my voice, because the Dow Jones started the day going down 200 plus points. The S&P was negative, and the NASDAQ, I think, started out kind of flat, maybe just tiny bit negative, but the NASDAQ started to turn around and went into the green fairly quickly. It's only been recently that the Dow, well, let's look at the one-day chart. The Dow officially went green a little bit higher than it is right now, but over this 3 hours, went way down at the open, started to come back a little bit wobbly, and then I think right around here, somewhere right in here, so hour and a half into trading today, about halfway of where we're at right now, it went positive, and it's been pretty close to that middle line, but slightly positive right now. So pretty nice turnaround considering how far to the downside it started. I think early this morning at the open of the market, there's just profit taking from what ended up being a really good week last week. I especially, I don't want to say we, I thought we would have a decent size sell-off, or the beginning to what could be a pretty good size sell-off following the Fed announcement last week. And that's not what we got. We got a rally on that day, a bigger rally on Thursday, and added to it a little bit on Friday. So we finished the week last week really nice. And then I think, like I said, there was some preset, meaning orders put in over the weekend to be filling this morning. I think there was some preset profit taking that took place this morning early, but once that kind of cleared out of the system, there were still more people bullish than bearish on the market. And added to that, you've got very much a mentality of FOMO, fear on missing out. Make sure you buy every little dip that takes place. Any little dip, any little pullback in the market, you're going to see people buying and getting in. This I found interesting. One of the Fed govs said that they're pushing the case to slash key interest rates, but I know there was another article right here, in fact, part of kind of a sub headline to this main trending headline right now. Muslim said he doesn't see much room for more Fed cuts. So you've got two of the Fed govs that are in almost direct opposition with each other. And I don't know that I love the method he's doing it with, but I understand a little bit the president's push to try and have more control of the Fed, even if only I don't like that the president has direct control of the Fed, but I understand the reasoning at least behind wanting to get more Fed govs that are his own appointees. And I'm able to separate that from the whole thing going on with Lisa Cook. If I thought Trump was trying to get Lisa Cook out of her role strictly for purposes of taking control of the Fed, I would say that that's very wrong for him to do. I think that may be part of it, but I think it's very legitimate that based on some pretty strong evidence that she has committed multiple instances of mortgage fraud. I do actually think it's legitimate to believe, she should be out of that position. I do think there is adequate cause. Whether let's say hypothetically Trump already had a majority like 8-4 or 9-3 of his appointees as the Fed govs versus what it is right now. Then you would take out this notion that maybe he wants to get rid of Lisa Cook for the wrong reasons. I would prefer that be the situation right now, because it's impossible to completely separate out that some of his motive is to get that other appointee of his in there. But whether that's the case or not, I do think she needs to go. And I think she was a horrible, awful DEI pick, someone who was totally unqualified, absolutely totally unqualified to be in that position. And she got in it because she's a female and because she's a minority. And then that's it. There is no other reason. She would not have even been considered, not even considered, with her credentials, with her controversial statements, her lack of experience, her history of plagiarism that's now coming out, even before the mortgage fraud was known about. She was a horrible pick and wouldn't even have been considered were it not for the fact that she's a woman and she's a minority. You could use that exact same logic as to why Kamala Harris could have been Biden's absolute worst choice for vice president. But nonetheless, there we find ourselves. So this I don't think is obviously having much of an effect on the market. The two contrasting opinions between these two Fed govs basically are just offsetting each other. It's like two offsetting fouls in an NFL game. You get holding on one side of the ball, you get a personal foul or pass interference or something on the other side of the ball on the same play. They're offsetting penalties. You repeat the down, it's a do-over. And I think that's what these two things are doing it. This is helping Nvidia tremendously. One of the reasons it didn't take the NASDAQ as long to move into positive territory, and one of the reasons the NASDAQ is up as far as it is because Nvidia started the day to the downside and then had a very strong turnaround. Nvidia is up nicely today, up over 3.5% right now, and it actually started the day in the red. There's your 1-day chart of Nvidia, and as you can see, just about a half an hour ago, it took off to the upside. It just absolutely took off and sort of skyrocketed up and is in nicely positive territory right now. So that's where we find ourselves with Nvidia, and that's a large part of why the Dow has gone positive and the NASDAQ have gone positive. Last week, Friday, at the end of the day, I sent out a trade on Marvell Technologies as our new Signal newsletter trade this week. I've already sent the newsletter. I've already sent that trade out in Discord. I inadvertently in Discord also sent out a Micron in long iron condor for expiration this Friday that was meant only for the triple play students. If you're a member of the main SOS program and you've got into that trade, don't worry about it. It's a great trade to be in. Consider it a bonus. You've got the Marvell trade, which is the main one I intended to send out this week and actually gave some people a head start on it last week on Friday. If you also did the Micron one, just look at it as a bonus. I'll keep track of it. I'll keep track of it both in the triple play spreadsheet as well as in the SOS main member spreadsheet. So we'll just consider it two trades this week, even though it wasn't part of the Signal newsletter. Looking ahead this week, look, tomorrow, middle of the day on the East Coast, mid-morning, my time, Jerome Powell speaks. Anytime Powell speaks, I'm super hopeful that he doesn't say something stupid. I'm very hopeful, and I'm never very optimistic that he won't say something stupid. So, look, truthfully, anticipate him sticking his foot in his mouth and whatever may be going on before that. Be prepared for the possibility that we get a short-term pullback tomorrow during the day. I don't think new home sales is going to be anything other than an expected, if not slightly better number than what is anticipated. I just don't see a big variance from what the expectation is. Durable goods and maybe more important than that, GDP. We're going to get our first look at second quarter GDP. I believe this is our first look. I'm sorry. This is the final revision. I apologize. Final revision for second quarter GDP, and I think it'll be somewhat in line. I don't think it'll be off in any dramatic way. But then Friday, we get the PCE, and you hear so many people say this is the Fed's favorite report. It's funny how they say that it's their favorite interest gauge, and yet we pay equal attention to CPI and PPI when they come in. So every time you hear a talking head say this is the Fed's favorite inflation gauge, I don't think it's any more or less important than several other inflation gauges. I think they look just as much at CPI. They look just as much at PPI. They certainly, those are what they look at for inflation. They certainly look at all of the jobs data for their second mandate of full employment. And I don't put more weight in PCE than what I put in the CPI or the PPI. The numbers are expected to be pretty in line with what they were the prior month. Any type of a beat, anything a little bit better, and it adds even more to 2 more rate decreases this year. Because right now the Fed is concerned about the employment situation, and as long as inflation doesn't look like it's getting worse, this number for the Fed Fund Watch tool, the betting markets expectation for a rate decrease right now, it's at 88%. 90%. That says 89.8. So for all intents and purposes, 90%. You'll see this go higher, closer to 95, 96, and you might see not only some shift away from that, but come all the way over here to the possibility, at least, of a 50 basis point cut. Don't be shocked if you see that. So, that PCE number will be a big deal because of that. If it comes in really hot, it's going to be a wet blanket over the idea that we'll get 2 more rate cuts. The market rallied big time after the Fed announcement last week. Not because of I don't think it was because of the 25 basis point cut. I think that was baked in. I think it was a pretty solid statement about 2 more cuts coming this year, or at least the likelihood that created that excitement and got things going a little bit stronger. So that's the reason why. I think the markets are continuing to rally right now, is the 2 more cuts that are expected. So everything that I predicted for the end of last week and going into this week might just be delayed by 1 week or 1 week and a half if we get a hot PCE number and all of a sudden people stop anticipating 2 more cuts this year. That could create the scenario that I thought would already be happening, where we move into something like a 3 to 5% pullback. Because that report comes out Friday morning, both of the trades that I sent out for the triple play, one of which the SOS members might also be in with the Micron one, both of those trades, and by the way, the second of those 2 I did fill on already, and I still might add a third this week, but both of those I want to be out of by the end of the day on Thursday. So even if we're at a small percentage profit and aren't getting exactly what we're hopeful for by the end of the week, if we can get out with profit on both of those by the end of the day on Thursday, I'm going to take that profit and not risk that a PCE report could really flip things on its head during Friday's trading. I do not want to be in that situation with options expiring on Friday and us being too close to the money. So watch Discord closely, listen for what I talk about in these podcasts. Tune into these anytime you want. And by the way, just on a side note, anytime you tune into the podcast, take a quick second to click that one button that is a thumbs up that's saying you like the podcast. I'd like to get more views of this to more people, both inside and outside the program, and continue to grow things. It's helpful to me, and I would greatly appreciate it. So if you're able to, just hit that like button as you're listening to it. Do me a huge favor. I would really appreciate it. All right, I'm going to wrap up right there, everybody. Have a great rest of your Monday. Don't forget, I'm not going to do these podcasts live at 8 a.m. my time anymore. There just weren't enough people tuning in live. If down the road we get a lot of requests for people to do it live at a specific time, I'll consider going back to that. But I'll record one every day that the markets are open. I'm just not going to be real locked into one specific time. And in exchange for that, I'll always post it on Discord right after that recording is available, so that you don't have to wait and wonder what time it's being done. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your Monday. Hope it's a great day for you. Bye.